Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Julie Chrisley has PTSD from prison. Julie Chrisley has been out of prison for less than a week. However, she is making no public appearances like Todd Chrisley is. So since she is hiding, fans are thinking she has PTSD from prison. Julie was recently pardoned after a long 2.5 years. There is a lot to unfold and uncover when it comes to this. Keep reading to find out more about this situation. Todd Chrisley and Julie Chrisley were pardoned last week. They get to come home and see all of their family and friends. This was the moment they were all waiting for. However, since the pardon, Todd Chrisley has been out and about. He attended their press conference, an event with Savannah, and has been out shopping. However, Julie is nowhere to be found. One picture was taken of her since her release, and that was it. She must not be leaving the house much, if at all. However, Todd is not afraid to answer questions and take the heat for what happened. Fans are getting concerned about the lack of Julie in public. Julie Chrisley is not going out in public much at all. Todd attended an event with Savannah last night, but Julie was nowhere to be seen. Fans think she may have PTSD from prison. Todd and Savannah at the Hope for Prisoners event this past weekend. No Julie, seems like we probably won't be seeing much of her anymore. Hopefully everyone is adjusting well to being home and out. Sounds like Julie's prison experience was actually prison, not a camp, as Todd stated he was at. Julie had some horrific experiences, and probably has PTSD. Needing therapy. I think she's suffering a lot with PTSD. It doesn't sound like Todd disliked prison. I actually just listened to one of Savannah's podcasts about Julie's prison letters. Poor thing, she really did have a pretty traumatizing experience. I hope that she heals quickly. It seems as though fans think Julie had it much harder in prison than Todd did. Todd's was almost a camp instead. So fans think Julie has to have PTSD from what she went through in there. She also had a medical scare and could not even talk to Todd while going through this. Regardless, they are happy that they are back home with their family. What do you think about this situation? Do you think she has PTSD? Sound off in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts on this situation. In a quiet cul-de-sac in Tennessee, behind the manicured lawns and the carefully drawn curtains, Julie Chrisley sits in silence. The hum of the fridge is the only sound that fills the open-plan kitchen. She clutches a cup of herbal tea, chamomile, always chamomile, and watches the steam rise like ghosts from a past she's still trying to forget. Prison. A single word, but for Julie, it's a chapter carved deep into her skin, even if no one sees the scars. She doesn't talk about it much. Not to the neighbors, not to the tabloids, not even to her reflection. The spotlight that once chased her now feels like a fluorescent bulb in a concrete cell. Bright, sterile, exposing everything she never wanted the world to see. Julie hides. It isn't always obvious. To the world, she's resurfaced with that perfectly composed Southern charm, hair brushed, lipstick on, smile intact. But behind the scenes, the armor she wears is cracking. I have PTSD, she confesses in a rare conversation with a close friend, her voice trembling like the china in her hand. Some days I can't even walk into a room without thinking the walls are going to close in. The trauma lingers in unexpected places. In the sound of a heavy door slamming shut. In the sterile scent of industrial cleaners. In the way someone raises their voice across a parking lot. These moments come like flash floods, no warning. One minute she's folding laundry. The next, she's back in that cell, cold and too quiet, with cameras on her every move and strangers deciding her worth with a clipboard and a smirk. Once America's favorite TV mom, Julie lived a life of glossy perfection. Designer kitchens, heartfelt family chats, gentle reprimands with a smile. It all played like a Southern fried version of the American dream. but beneath the glitter, cracks were forming. The world watched as Julie and her husband, Todd, fell from grace. Fraud, tax evasion, sentencing, headlines. Whispers turned to roars, and suddenly, the Chrisley empire collapsed. But what most people never saw, what they still don't see, is the cost of that fall. It wasn't just the courtroom spectacle or the harsh fluorescent lights of the prison. It was the undoing of identity. Julie wasn't just an inmate for those long, aching months. She became a ghost in her own story. A woman stripped of family, freedom, and the kind of privacy even reality TV had never dared to take. Julie now avoids the camera like it's fire. She skips red carpets. She refuses podcast requests. The few times she's seen out shopping, her posture is hunched, not from age, but from memory. She has nightmares she doesn't speak of. Dreams where the clanging of bars wakes her up with a start, where voices echo down long corridors calling her name, and she can't answer because she doesn't remember who she is anymore. "I used to be someone," she whispers into the quiet. "Now I feel like I'm just trying to remember the version of me that wasn't afraid." Her therapist calls it post-traumatic stress. Julie calls it survival. She's learned to anchor herself with small rituals. Folding towels just right. Lighting the same candle every night. Cooking old family recipes from memory, mac and cheese with extra cheddar, cornbread like her grandmother made. These are her lifelines, her way back to the version of herself she trusts. But still, she hides. Not because she's ashamed of surviving, but because the world can be cruel to those who stumble in public. Online, the comments are relentless, criminal, fraud. She got what she deserved. But what they don't see is the woman behind the headline. The mother who missed her children's birthdays. The wife who lay awake wondering if her marriage could survive this. The daughter who had to explain to her aging parents why she couldn't visit anymore. Trauma, she's learned, is not just about what happens to you. It's about what you carry afterward. There are days when Julie doesn't leave her bedroom. She scrolls through old family photos, each one a frozen moment before the fall. She wonders if those smiles were real or just rehearsed for the cameras. It's hard to tell anymore. She barely recognizes herself in them. But not all is darkness. There are sparks, little moments of joy. Her daughter's laugh. A handwritten card from a fan who says, "You're still someone to me." Her husband's stubborn optimism. These reminders lift her, even if only for a while. Her healing, she knows, won't come all at once. It will be slow, unseen, like roots growing beneath the surface. But she is growing. In secret, perhaps, like wildflowers in an abandoned field. No cameras, no applause, just the quiet rebellion of recovery. Julie Chrisley still hides, but it's not just out of fear anymore. It's also to protect what's sacred, to rebuild what prison tried to strip away. Her dignity, her peace, her truth. The world may never see the whole picture. The media will continue to frame her in black and white headlines. But Julie's story now lives in shades of gray, the complicated palette of a woman who broke and then began to rebuild. Not the Julie of reality TV, not the Julie of mugshots, but the Julie who wakes up each morning and dares to keep going. If you'd like this expanded into a serialized story, made into a podcast script, or adapted into a journalistic profile piece, I can help with that too.